the engine room, as I like to call it, the heart of every yacht. Of course, upstairs everything is nice and pretty, but it's extremely important that everything down here is nice and tight, because if something goes wrong down here, no matter how pretty it is up there, your experience will be definitely affected. So we will go quickly through components and design. This, as we said at the beginning, is a triple IPS propulsion package, which means that you have these three engines, which the IPS approximately provide 30% more power as a drive versus the equivalent in a shaft line configuration. What that means that in order to provide 1,000 horsepower of moving power to the boat in a shaft line configuration, you need an engine able to create 1,000 horsepower. When you have an IPS configuration, you do the same with 700 horsepower. So a smaller engine means several things, one of which is compact. Compact means that the engine room, the space dedicated to the engine room, can be smaller and narrower. And in this instance of this specific model, that provides two very specific advantages. One is everything we have seen going that way, which is crew quarter, master shower, toilet, walk-in closet, master cabin, and so on. So we're being able to move more aft the engine room and make it smaller, enable you in the same amount of feet to make much larger living quarters in the lower deck. And then also when it comes to height, the fact that you don't have a shaft line, so you don't have to respect that angle of the shaft coming out of the boat and going in front of the rudders, but your propulsion system is right under the engines or right under the transmissions because it's a pod. You can drop the engines. So number one, they're smaller while delivering the same power as bigger shaft line configuration. And number two, you can drop them because you don't need to have that angle of for the shaft, which gives you this big box that you see here is a garage, which in 70 feet allow you to host a jet ski and a tender side by side, always cover, protect them from the environment. We'll see it later. We'll open the garage and take a look. But this big protrusion, if you wish, that you see on top of the engines is the garage module, which can happen only because of an IPS propulsion. If this boat would be a shaft line propulsion, we'll have to be much higher in order to have a garage, and we'll not have a garage. We'll have a platform with a tender on it. So this is the triple IPS configuration. As we said, these are 1,050 each, so you have a total of 3,150 horsepower powering the S7. The performance, I never go through performance too much because those are all information which are available online. This is a wide open 34, 35 knot boat cruising all day at 28. Another extremely important benefit of the IPS propulsion combined with the right hull is the complete lack of vibration and noise. So if you compare the same amount of power delivered by a traditional shaft line, vibration or noise are significantly higher. The IPS configuration, because of the pod and the fact that there is no turbulence, so the propellers are actually biting into clean water. That's why the revolution of IPS propulsion was extremely significant. The propellers are facing forward, they're pulling the boat forward, and it means in a simple way that they're basically, the propeller is a screw. It's a screw screwing into a piece of wood, right? Imagine that. And the propeller facing forward are screwing into clean water. The water the propeller screws into has full volume. There is no air, there is no oxygen, there's no turbulence. In a shaft line, the propellers are pushing and they're biting into a little bit dirtier water in a way of turbulence. And that's why there is all studies, engineering, and also there you need to design house properly, tunnels, avoid cavitation, and so on and so forth. But in IPS configuration, vibration, noise, and last but not least, you are in the range between 20, 25, up to, depending on the RPMs level, up to 30% less fuel burn than the equivalent power in a shaft line. So it's really a win-win configuration, and this is what we have here on the S7. Fuel tank also, capacity, I mean, this is 1,000 gallons of fuel available. We typically design all the product to provide the owner with the 10 hours at cruising speed. This means that this boat has 1,000 gallons of fuel capacity. Our calculation always include the generators on and return. So you know, diesel engines, they burn fuel, but they also have fuel that they don't burn, which goes back to the tank. So our calculations are very precise. They leave a 10% margin, and we want to provide 10 hours of navigation at cruising speed for every model. This is the rule of thumb, at least at Azimut Yachts. So range on an S7, you're looking at 200, anywhere between 250 and 300 miles range at speeds between 25 and 28 knots, and a burning of 1900 gallons an hour. So fuel system, these are the regular fuel filters. You have a double set for each engine. Port, center, starboard behind you. You can select 1, 2, or both. So in case you have a problem with one filter, you always want to run on one filter. So then if you have a problem, you run with the other. Self-explanatory. Firefighting system. Here is our air conditioning system. So all the compressors and the compressed gas is happening here in the engine room. This is a chill water system, which means that you have compressors. We compress a gas which by chemistry produce cold, and that cold is transferred into a loop of water. You have a pump which drives this water, and this tells you the pressure at which that water is flowing through the boat. And imagine you have a water line which goes to every fan coil on the boat. That water is extremely cold. The colder the setting on the temperature that you put, the colder the water the compressor will generate. That water goes through the fan coil, which then blow air into the serpentine, and that is conditioned air. So all your gas, all your noise, all your technical components are here in the engine room, and all you have going through the boat is a line of cold water and a fan, which you can adjust the speed of the airflow you want. So that's what is called a chill water system. Onan, Cummins Onan, same company, American brand generator. In this case, we have a single unit, but 21.5 kW, which is way more. There's way more power here than what you need on the entire boat. So this unit obviously is capable of supply power for the entire boat with very minimum power management. We have the main electrical panel here, which again, I always like to actually show. They all come with their own connected safety opening device, but it's always nice to show the backstage, or something that not necessarily is shown on average videos. And if you come this way instead, you can appreciate the level of details and quality that Azimut Yachts put in every system. I always love to see and to show in these videos the backstage, the engine room, the electrical panels, the bilges, because these are actually the things we are extremely proud of, just as much as we are of the exterior design, interior design. Again, if something goes wrong here, no matter how pretty is the main deck, you will not have a pleasurable experience. Every of our model is equipped, of course, with fuel tank reading levels in the main helm, but you also have your optic level in the engine room. So in case the main helm goes wrong, you want to make sure that you come down here and you press your two valves, and you have your visual fuel level indicator. Why only on one side? Because all the Azimut Yachts fuel tank are communicating. Of course, you have a valve that you can close in order to avoid communication between the tank. Let's see, for example, that you are you have water in the fuel, and you realize that you need to transfer fuel from one tank to the other to clean it, that will allow you to isolate the tanks from each other for maintenance, service, and so on. But in a normal day operation, the tanks are communicating to each other. This is why you need a visual gauge only on one tank, and that will give you the level of both tanks to that level. This is your transmissions that you can access, control, check, service in a very comfortable way. Even the middle one, I don't think it's the case for me now to go down there, but I could. I mean, there is room to do all the needed maintenance. Over there, I have two hydraulic units. One is for the garage door, the other one is for the gangway. Easily serviceable, refill oil tank, checking condition and maintaining. You know, it's all there is definitely a decent, comfortable amount of space here to do your check and your maintenance. These are actually the minimum bypass mufflers of the exhaust, so until the engines runs at a certain RPMs, exhaust water comes out from the side, and then when there is pressure enough, comes out from underneath. Freshwater pump, again, this is not here by accident. These are components which sooner or later go, are very stressed, used a lot, and so you wanted to make sure that they are in very comfortable position to be worked on, to be maintained, to be checked, to be reset, to check your freshwater pressure system. You have your manometer here, your reset button here, and in case you need to either replace the brushes of the motor or replace the entire pump, the position couldn't be more comfortable than this. You undo these 4 bolts, you disconnect this line from a quick disconnect up here, and you take the pump, service it, replace it, and put it back. Fail-safe galvanic isolator. Why not talking about it a little bit? To make a long story short, what this does is protect the underwater metal from galvanic corrosion. And you can see what this does is basically it separates the ground conductor coming from the dock. This is the shore power cord. The ground conductor is separated by these components. What does it mean? It means that now, even though you are connected to the same dock in the marina with all the other boats, you are not connected to them in terms of ground wire, which, to make a long story short, that is what would cause corrosion and problem of zincs erosion in case you don't have a fail-safe galvanic isolator, because if the boat next to you has no zincs and you do have good zincs and you're both connected to the same ground without this component, what you are doing, what your boat is now doing, is protecting the boat next door. So your zincs are deteriorating at twice as much the speed because you're protecting you and him or her. And what that means, that they're going to run out faster and you're going to get your underwater metal damage because you're protecting someone else, just because you're connected at the dock and they are not doing their job maintaining their zincs. This cut that line. Still protect the ground protection, so ground is a safety equipment, but through this you're no longer connected to any other boat on the dock.